What's up, Fan Guardians? This is Jonathan S.P. Minham. I'm doing a deck profile today and you probably can see, of Touken Ranbu, which is going to be coming out early November for us here in the United States. So this will obviously be a post-release of that. For those who don't know, Touken Ranbu was released as a teaser on April 1st. Initially believed just to be kind of like a gag, which Bushiroad is kind of known for, but actually ended up being a real set. So it wasn't actually a joke per se. It is based on a video game that is based online over there that we as Americans don't really know, but it is, in my mind, the equivalent to like a male Bermuda. It's a bunch of sword boys is what everyone calls them. And they're very unique in their own respect because they focus around striding to a degree. They have two unique abilities to them, which is really fun and different compared to a lot of the current decks out in the meta. Because anyone that knows, because we pretty much have things post-generation that are like Limit Break and Legion. And then there's After, which is more based on generation or stride, which is this deck kind of combines both aspects. So it's really fun because they actually can go off without having to stride and having a generation break 1, because technically none of their cards have a generation break 1 or 2 skill. It's actually really unique in that respect. So what I want to do today is go over what I've been testing. And what I've enjoyed about this testing is the decks are so free. The skills, the costs, everything is very free, and it's very easy to use. And a lot of the stuff is very power based. My deck today is going to focus around the skill known as Shinken Hisatos. I'm going to butcher a lot of things here today. I'm really sorry. Hisato. It's actually a mechanic in the game. On a thing. I'm just going to call it Shinken. It's just easier to go forward. And also the butchering of the names. I'm really sorry. I don't know much about this, and their names and some pronunciation, because a lot of it, again, is only Japanese, and we haven't had card translations of their names. So it's going to be very hard at first, so I do apologize. But hopefully I'll get through it pretty quickly. Again, this is just my build. This is what I've just focused around. Some people mix the two mechanics, the Shinken and the what is known as MVP. I'm just focusing on Shinken, and that is because I simply think is a very fun mechanic that, again, what it is when you are at 3 damage, your ability activates. So it's kind of like a pre-limit break to a degree, which is kind of fun because, again, all you need is 3 damage and your skills start going off. So you don't even need the stride, and you have stuff that goes off at 3 damage. So it's very easy to get 3 damage too, because a lot of times people are very aggressive in their attacks and things. So this is very fun because you kind of let them set up your plays. So our starter is Kaisen. He's a Forerunner. He has a rearguard effect to put this into the soul. Choose 2 of your Shinken, and those units each get 3,000 to the end of turn. There's got like a Royal Paladin card to it, similar to this, the Jewel Knight one. I like this card a lot because they give the power so easily and so effectively, and you need the soul for some of these effects to go off. So this is a very great starter card. Very easy to use. Again, it fills the soul requirements. There's a couple other starters, but this is my favorite just because the power can go off whenever. It's really good because you don't even need to be at damage 3. Then we run 4 draw. This is the Shinken ability again, but sadly I don't run its counterpart, which is a stand. It's just basically when this is on the rear guard, if you have the other one counterpart to it, they each get 3,000. Same thing. I don't care for the stands in this deck, even though probably people prefer it. I think they need the draw power a lot to get some of their better plays and things. So this is just a pure draw. You can even run a vanilla if you want, but I just like it because it is a Shinken. In case something were to ever happen, you have the ability to utilize that. Then we run 4 heal, of course, which is the only heal. I don't know why they only gave him 1 heal, but they gave him like 3 stands, 2 crits, all that stuff. So it was kind of unique. We do 4 crit. I just like this guy. Again, there's a bunch of crits. Of course. Oh, here's another crit. Here's a crit. We'll get to that one. There's 3 crits. ton of stands, 2 stands right there, 3 stands. So yeah, and I got to cover 4 runners. But 8 crit total, 4 draw, 4 heal, and then the kind of the MVP, which no joke, crit trigger, which comes as a double R in the set, is you put this in your assault when your vanguard attacks. If you have a unit, if this unit is stand, you would pay the cost. If you do, draw a card and choose 2 of your rear guards to the end of the current turn. They get another 3,000 each, which is again, you're building and stacking these powers so easily, and again, you're drawing off of this, so it's not a dead draw per se. And if you drive check, you get it. You obviously get the benefit, but again, this is a good card in general. Like I wish they made more triggers like this for a lot of regular clans, and this is kind of their one that does something, and I'm really satisfied with the crit. But it just, again, it fills the soul, and it also at the same point gives your units, 3,000 power. So very, very good. We're gonna go to our grade ones. Horikawa, I believe is the name. Shinken again. When you have 3 or more damage, Counterblast 1 is the cost. When this unit is placed on the rear, you may pay the cost. If you do Soul Charge 1, this unit gets 4,000 at the end of the turn. So it's not a repeated effect, but it is a great effect, and it actually, you can get this card back, and I'll show you in a little bit. But again, it's Counterblast, Soul Charge, give it 4,000. It becomes an 11k booster automatically. Like, that's so good and so many levels because it helps create really good columns. And I think people often at times, when you can create a 21 column or something on those lines, it's very difficult for people to get over that, at such a later point in the game. And again, this works, the moment you have 3 damage. So you can really do early game pressure. This is a deck, like, if you had to sit at, like, grade 2, so your opponent doesn't get a stride effect, they can go off. You can easily go off. So it's a lot of fun in that respect. You can kind of always have something going on without having to be at grade 3. Okay, this is the Stride Fighter card. It has an MVP skill. It says, choose one of your grade 4 or greater units during that turn. This unit gets 5,000 and auto MVP. You may pull the Soul Blast 1. This unit attack hits a Vanguard. You may pay the cost if you do Counter Charge 2. So that still works. You can still use MVP skills. I just don't focus on that. The MVP skill is you literally just pay the cost of that, and that is what you get. So this skill works really nicely. So if you wanted to, you suck it into the soul, and you basically get the 5,000. And yeah, and they counter charges. So again, they are counterblast heavy, but they're not overly counterblast heavy because I've only seen a few things cost like 2 counterblasts. Perfect Guard. Simple as that. It's the unflipping Perfect Guard. So if you have a copy of it in the drop zone, you unflip. Pretty good. This thing comes SP and signed, which is really fun. So this is the only truly hugely expensive card if you one of the SPs that I feel like every deck would run, because it's the only Perfect Guard other than a quintet, and you don't really want that. Then 3 Nikarari. Shinken again. When your grade 3 or less Vanguard attacks, if you have a number of other rear guards rest, you have a 3 or more, you would pay the cost. If you do, choose one of your Vanguards, and this unit gets 10,000 until the end of the battle. This is a great late turn card, and I actually like it with one of the main grade 3s in the deck, and I'll show you why a little bit, again, when we get farther down. I just don't use this skill until late game. Like, you can use it early game, I guess, if you're kind of like sitting at those, you're going to grade 2 kind of rush and stay at grade 2. I feel like this is a great deck to do that, and this ability works really well with that because it still creates a lot of pressure for your opponent to get over. So that's our grade 1s, and I'm pretty good with those lineups. Again, he's the only one other than the Perfect Guard there's a 4 of, just because of how great the effect is. Grade 2s. I don't even know how to say this name. I'm really sorry. Again, I'm going to butcher it. Shinken, and he's basically our 12k attacker. Again, there's a couple other cards that you may want to use. I focus just on the Shinken, and there's a lot of MVPs and things. But I like the power boost with him. It creates the columns, and it creates problems for your opponent. Then, this one is, again, these names are so absurd. I'm so sorry, guys. Aizamun Kamai. Soul Blast 1. Shinken again, sorry. Soul Blast 1. When this unit is boosted, you may pay the cost, so that's the Soul Blast. If you do, until the end of that battle, this unit gets 3,000 power, so it becomes automatically a 12k attacker. And then, auto rear, at the end of the battle that this unit attacked, you may pay the you may choose one of your units with Shinken ability in your back row and return to hand. So this is super nice. Again, that's why like sometimes the draw trigger, like I said, but more importantly is for Horikawa, because you can constantly keep bouncing him back and keep doing his effect and always getting an 11k booster, which is just really, really beautiful. And the problem is, I had to figure out the ruling as to the end of battle this unit attacked. So I believe you could bounce if Horikawa is boosting him, you can bounce him back. So it does work like that because it's not missing timing or bouncing it back. So there's unboosting. It says at the end of the battle. So that is the uniqueness of this card. So again, it becomes a 12k with this 23. Bounce them back next turn, do the same thing over and over again, which is really fun. Then we use again these names. I'm so sorry, guys. Yamamoto Kamui. It's Counterblast 1. So you are paying this before. Until the end of the turn, this unit gets 2,000 and auto rearguard MVP. You need to pay the cost of MVP once in total. You choose a card from your hand and discard it. When this unit attack hits a Vanguard, you pay the cost if you do draw 2 cards. Now, I like this card a lot because it creates a lot of pressure. It becomes an 11k attacker, which again helps create those perfect numbers. And you could draw cards off of it by simply discarding your card. So it's like a domain, but at a higher level. And yes, you do have to counterblast pre-hand, but again, it's the reward of pressuring your opponent. Like, oh, are you going to take the let's say you drive check and you're like, oh, crit here, power here, and you put all the power on her or him. Sorry, should say him. And you're like, oh, well, you're either going to take the one that crit to lose the game, or you're going to let me hit this one and draw extra cards. So I only run 3 of her, just because I prefer this guy getting the power and being able to bounce things and replenishing. But again, it's personal preference at the point. Plus, his skill is only a Soul Blast, so a little bit cheaper in the long run. But again, this is a good card in the long run because you can keep drawing off of it to several degrees. I think people don't even realize that either because because it says into the end of the turn. Yeah. Then our grade 3s. So there's 2 grade 3s. There's a couple of great Shinken grade 3s, but I played around with it, and like he's one that says basically you counterblast 1 and attack the Vanguard, you may get 15,000. If you have rear guards in the front row, this unit can attack. I just don't like the wonkiness of that. Like, I think it's really cool that you can get 15,000, making him a 26 on his own. I don't run stands, so I don't think that whole thing of all your rear guards attacking benefits this guy at all. So unless you knew you had game, but and then there's this guy who has got a rear guard and a Vanguard skill. His Vanguard skill is really good because kind of got this blaster abyss thing where you can use a card to give it or discard any card as long as you're starting for a particular stride, and you get 2+. So you could get rid of a grade 1 that's not necessarily a stride fighter card, maybe a grade 2, whatever one. It does help it, but again, it's not as overall great as I like it because the 2 grade 3s that we're choosing I think are far better. We'll get to him. He's my favorite. He's Tom Bakuri. He's my like avatar of this deck. But this guy, again, really weird name. I'm really sorry. He's got Shinken, and it says during your turn, all your rear guards with Shinken get the ability of getting 2,000. Again, so good because everything in this deck is essentially a Shinken, and everything gets all this additional power, and this goes off as soon as you're at 3 damage. So even if you go first, your columns are going to be ridiculously insane. Then, when this unit drive checks reveals a grade 1 or greater card with Shinken ability, this unit gets 5,000 until the end of turn. So again, only 1 unit, so 2 units, I guess. This is the Guardian in the deck. Do not have Shinken, and my deck that would be the Perfect card. That would be the Stride Fighter card, and then of course the triggers. But at that point, you already got power from the triggers, so not really, making a good 2 pass, and you're like, oh, Shinken and a trigger. So it does help create better scenarios of hitting the 2 pass marker kind of thing. So that's why I've chosen him as the backup. And he is a triple R in the set. He's really, really good. Again, he's just got really no restrictions, and his stuff is free. Like, you know what I mean? Like, free. There's no other way. And then we Tom Bokari. This is the one grade 3 I really love in the deck. His first is Shingen, Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1. When this unit is being attacked, you may pay the cost. If you do, this unit gets plus 2,000 until the end of turn. Now, this is really good because it becomes a 13k base. So against like Aqua Force, all those things, it's superly effective. And again, all you need to be at 3 damage, and it stacks. So every time, let's say they have multiple rear guards, you can keep bouncing up. As long as you have Counterblast and Soul Blast, you can always stack the additional 2k. Always making it so this unit can be almost guarding defensively and offensively itself is really good, because if you look at the second ability, it was this unit attacks a Vanguard during the battle, your opponent cannot call grade 0s into the Guardian Circle from his or her hand. What do you say? It's a Tom! It's a Silent Tom! It's a double rare Silent Tom! 11k on the Vanguard, yes, but I mean, still, like, it's free. You don't even need Generation Break 2. It literally is, oh, I ride this right now and make you drop your hand. If, you perfect guard. But again, it creates stupid scenarios that are just beautiful in so many ways, because late game, that can be really costly against people. I mean, I've played it so much right now that people are just like, oh, I can't do anything. I mean, if you run out of Stride or if you run out of those things, this card is great to end with, and also is really good anytime, really, because again, anything that can Tom it is super effective. So that is the current Shinken base, and then we go into our Strides. And this Terakachi, got it, I'm so sorry. It's normal stride, but its ability is continuous. During your turn, all your rear guards with Shinken ability in your front row get 3,000. So again, 3,000. And if you have the heart of Jirachi, it gets 5,000, which we don't run him because it's this guy. And, they go hand in hand their own right. But I use this guy for its free plus 3,000. So, it doesn't affect the Vanguard itself, but it does affect your 2 rear guard columns. Again, everything is deck as a Shinken, except for a few cards. So this will always be giving additional 3,000. Again, making the columns so big. And we run 2 of them because he's kind of just there. Again, even additional 3,000 each turn is pretty good. So then we run this guy, which, again, I'm sorry about the names. Again, of course, normal stride, but he becomes a Vermilion for a Counterblast 1, and you flip him, a Persona flip of him, and during that turn, he gets continuous. This card battles all your units in your front row in 1 attack. So, again, 26,000 generally attack, taking out the front row. And the only reason we run 2 of them because, there's balance. You don't want to run a whole lot more of him. He actually helps set up the main stride, which we'll be getting to. Because you Persona flip him, you'll basically have both copies up when it's all said and done. There'll be a total of 2. You stride him first. You can stride him whenever. That's the other thing. He doesn't have GB break. He literally is, oh, you have a full front row of really good monsters. I'm going to call this guy first, attack, and just flip a copy. Like, so good. So effing good. And then the main guy. This is the main token Ranbu card everyone's familiar with because he's on the posters. The normal stride, and Counterblast 1 and choose a face-down card from your G-Zone and turn it face up. Doesn't even matter if it's him or not. Doesn't even have to be Persona flipped. And this unit gets 3,000 for each face-up card in the G-Zone until the end of turn. Choose a rear guard in your opponent's front row for each 2 face-up cards in your G-Zone. Retire it. So if you have 4 face-ups, you can retire both their front rows. And if the number of cards in your G-Zone is 2 or more, this unit gets an extra crit till turn. So if you have 4 face-up, not only are you getting an additional 12,000 attack, you're getting a crit, and you just retire 2 of their units for a counterblast and a flip of a unit in your G-Zone. Doesn't even matter what it is. It's essentially free. It's so good. It's ridiculously good. Yes, you're right. It can be perfect guard. But again, you have all these effects that are getting, effects and effects and effects. I mean, it's just like, this is the ultimate late game card because, again, next turn, I do another one and I flip another card face up. And you're like, oh, another one. You just always are getting a plus of some sort off of it in my mind. Yeah, it's just so good with these cards. And you know, that's how I view it. Again, I mean, the deck is a lot of fun. I'll probably do an MVP build or whatever down the road, and a lot of people mix the two. I just focus purely on the Shinken, and just because I felt it was a little bit easier to deal with. MVP I think is a lot of fun. You can have that stuff go off anytime. But focus today was the Shinken build because that's the one I've been playing with, and I feel is really, really good. Because turn 3, if you are at 3 damage, something is always going off. So it's really good. So guys, let me know what you think. I appreciate you watching. And again, I'll look forward to some more deck profiles. I'll be testing a couple things out again, but that is what I have as of the moment. Thank you, and have a great night.